My guests are seated, and I'd like to introduce them, and then we get going right away. And in the studio this morning to help us do the discussions are the Honorable MP for North Dai and Vice Chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. So he's right here, and I've just sent my message directly to him. They shouldn't consider that bill when it comes before them. George Lowe, thank you very much for joining us, Senior.
Thank you, my brother.
Right. Also in the studio, and I'm introducing them in the order of their appearance when they came, who came early. Okay, I think Mr. Kwame was here earlier. And then Eric Ametokwame, he is communications consultant for the National Health Insurance Authority. He was actually here first. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ametokwame. Also is Egbert Fable Jr., he is private legal practitioner and managing editor of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper. Of course, he makes no bones about his support for the new patriotic party. Good morning and welcome to the show, Egbert. Also in the studio is our regular panelist and editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Kweku Bako. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate your mischief.
Okay, I didn't get the twist of the mischief though.
In order of
all right, okay, order of appearance. Thank you very much.
I turned in late.
Yes, but your documents always come before you. I don't know how that happens. Right. Now, we deal first briefly by preliminary issue that we are looking at, preliminary comments. The revelation that came up yesterday by the U.S. ambassador. The U.S. ambassador to Ghana yesterday met some senior journalists, and it is reported in the media that he said, among other things, that Nana Addo was consulted. And then in another breath, seemed to have suggested that he was simply informed about the coming in of the GITMO 2, infamous GITMO 2. He has sought to allay fears that they pose any security threat to us. Of course, you are aware of the major issue we are going to discuss this morning about the terror threat, and some people link that to the fact that Ghana is hosting this GITMO 2. So what really are the facts? The NPP has issued a statement. But before we look at that statement, let's hear from our guests what they make of the new twist to that information. You are aware that a security analyst, Ibrahim Ibad, had earlier suggested that Nana Addo was consulted, and the NPP didn't take kindly to that at all. He subsequently retracted and apologized for putting that information out, saying that he didn't get it correct. Well, the U.S. Embassy, the ambassador has now reaffirmed it, or confirmed it. So what exactly are the facts, and what's the big deal anyway? I'll start with you, Egbert.
Yes, Samson, I think that this blunder from the U.S. ambassador to Ghana is regrettable. I say so because if you look at the statement that the NPP has issued, it's very clear to the point that as of January 5, when they had a meeting with Nana Addo, just to inform him, the two gentlemen, the GITMO 2, were either in Ghana or on their way in Ghana. So that meeting, as far as I'm concerned, and as rightly stated in the NPP statement, it's very clear that Nana Addo was just confronted with a fait accompli. They were going to brief or consult Nana Addo so that Nana Addo would say, no, don't bring them, or what? It is the President of the Republic who had taken the decision. And his decision was that without even recourse to Parliament and without recourse to the laws of Ghana as regards international agreements, and for that matter, a clear violation of the Constitution and Ghana's obligations, when it has to enter into such agreements, international agreements, the President just said, bring them. You understand? And so they came. So whether Nana Addo was consulted, which fact is denied vehemently, or even if he was briefed, it did not matter. It did not matter at all. I think that, you know, this U.S. ambassador was not in town. He was not the one who went to Nana Addo's residence to brief him. You understand? It was, I think, the acting chief of mission or whatever at the time, a lady who went and had that briefing. It was very clear. I have had recourse to what took place at the meeting. And then they went and said, well, this is going to happen. We feel that you are an important stakeholder because you represent the largest opposition party. So, listen, rather than allow the situation to crop up for your side to raise all kinds of legitimate issues, please, we've come to inform you out of courtesy, out of respect, that this is the situation. So you are going to see them in town. Of course, what could Nana Addo do? Nothing. So it is, I would say it is regrettable. It's a diplomatic blunder on the part of the U.S. ambassador to use the word consult. The word consult, even if you situate it in our constitutional arrangements, often the president is required to consult the Council of State on something. But is the president bound by the advice of the Council of State when he consults them? No. So that assuming that even the U.S. ambassador is right in saying that Nana Addo was consulted, what did Nana Addo tell them? They haven't put that one out.
They have this. He says that he had reservations.
He had reservations.
Yes.
So
but the opposition, the governing party is asking to know the details of what exactly he says, so that they can match that against his reaction after they arrived.
So Nana Addo had reservations, and yet they went ahead and brought the GITMO 2 into the Republic. So
we don't know the content of the reservations, whether it was to say don't bring them, or that before you bring them, do
Nana Addo
ABC.
was not presented with a situation where he had a choice. He had no choice. The people were already on their way, or even in Ghana already, when that visit took place. So what consultation are we talking about here? He was just informed. He was never consulted. And I think that we need to make this very clear, especially for those who want to do mischief with it, because we know that even when it comes to these things, some of our friends are in the hinterlands claiming that, oh, it is Nana Addo who even said that they should bring the GITMO 2. So they are surprised that he's turning around, or the MPP is turning around now to claim that, well, this is what happened. I think that, you know, sometimes we do very, very, very evil things in this country just because of power.
Yeah. Right. Well, we are in the silly season, are we not? Now, Ameto, this is the statement that has been issued by the NPP, and I'll just read a small portion of it. It says the attention of the office of Nana Akufo-Addo has been drawn to a news item on some online media portals, on social media to the effect that the 2016 presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party was consulted, quote unquote, consulted before, to quote the news item, quote, the infamous transfer of the 2 Guantanamo Bay detainees to Ghana, unquote. According to the story captioned, quote, Nana Addo was consulted before GITMO 2 transfer, U.S. The new U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Robert Jackson, in a meeting with some editors on Friday, April 15, is alleged to have said that, quote, the foreign minister and this embassy consulted about informing other stakeholders, and we did talk to Akufo-Addo before the transfer happened, unquote. These statements by the ambassador therefore create the impression that Nana Akufo-Addo was, quote, consulted, unquote, and thereby had foreknowledge of the transfer of the GITMO 2 detainees. Now they go ahead to debunk the claims and say that he was told about it a day before, and just an information to him, in the same way that they inform the religious bodies and the clergy. So what's the big deal?
Thank you, and good morning to your viewers. I believe that the United States ambassador to Ghana might have been meeting the media to familiarize himself with the media theft in Ghana. And this might have been one of the questions which cropped up, because I don't believe he called a press conference to just
Not at all.
deal
Not at all.
with this issue.
You're absolutely right.
For me, this issue has long been settled. And can think in my mind's eye that these two gentlemen have fairly well acclimatized themselves to the Ghanaian situation. When the news first broke, this issue was whether Nana Addo was consulted or not consulted came up.
Right.
And there were many, many explanations. Some sought to say that he was not consulted at all. Some said he was consulted a day before they came. Some said he was consulted when the GITMO 2 were in transit. Were in transit and about to land at Kotoka and all that. We've had an extensive discussion in this country about this issue. And so for me, it's an issue that has fairly well been settled. As to whether we should resurrect it again as a national issue for discussion, for me, it's neither here nor there. The government has stated its position clearly, that it has taken them in. It doesn't think that the arrangements leading to their transfer to Ghana is something that should go to Parliament, and that they have not breached any laws.
Right.
And
there
so
are some citizens in the Supreme Court challenging that.
Well, the outcome will determine whether
You ought to have been taken to Parliament or not.
So, for me, I think we should, at this stage, just allow this.
So, what would you say to sympathizers and supporters of the NDC then? Because if you have monitored social media, and that's a big, a big space platform out there, as far as the political campaigning is concerned, they have latched onto this statement by the U.S. ambassador, and to say categorically that people should not trust Nana Addo. They cannot be trusted, because when Ibad Ibrahim said that he had been consulted, he categorically denied that he had been consulted. And now you have the U.S. ambassador himself now confirming that he had been consulted. And they're saying that tells you that he's not a trustworthy person. He's not credible.
Well, we are trying to look at the word consult. If you are consulting with somebody, then you actually want to have the person's inputs into your decision making.
Right.
If you are informing somebody, you are just telling the person that this is the decision I have taken, and I'm putting it before you for your information. So which of the two really took place? And if indeed it was consultation, what were his views?
His words were these:
on the matter.
We consulted about informing. We consulted about informing. That's the word, the phrase he used.
Which means that the consultation to inform took place in a different forum, and the information also took place in a different forum. If that is exactly the words that the ambassador used, then it means that a meeting took place to decide whether Nana Addo should be informed or not. A consultation took place between different players to decide on whether he should be informed or he should also be consulted or not.
Let me quote him again. He says, the foreign minister and this embassy consulted about informing other stakeholders, and we did talk to Akufo-Addo before the transfer happened.
Okay, so talking to Akufo-Addo took place after the consultation with the ministry and the United States embassy. All what we are saying here is that he was given prior knowledge before the GITMO 2 landed in Ghana.
Okay.
It's simple. For me, this matter is dead. It doesn't.
So
really
on that score, Kweku, is it not fair for those who say that Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP are acting hypocritical and for cheap political gain when they are so against the transfer of these two individuals to Ghana?
Well, the question is, I'm sorry, it's wrong-headed. And forgive me for saying that.
Don't worry,
but
don't worry.
let's proceed step by step. First of all, the gentleman you mentioned, Ibrahim,
Ibrahim.
he spoke to the effect that he had knowledge and information that Addo had been consulted 6 months before the arrival of.
Okay, that's important to note. Yeah,
6 months. Then I wasn't at the U.S. Embassy's ambassador's press conference. Unfortunately, we were not invited. I'm wondering why. Because I think we are a key stakeholder in the media industry. But that's not a big deal. Yeah, but that's not a big deal, really.
The media entities have become so many in the country.
Sure,
so you can't afford
can easily,
to have everybody.
yes. So that's not a big deal. So I'm not sure whether the ambassador, in his response to whatever question was asked, actually gave a timeline as to when Akufo-Addo was consulted or informed. Let's at this stage say they are interchangeable, though they don't mean the same. But for purposes of argument, I'm not sure whether the ambassador gave a timeline. If he did, somebody can correct me. Now, beyond that, what are the facts? When this matter came up, the NPP issued a statement that indicated that they were not in support of the relocation of the GITMO 2. They raised other legal, constitutional issues that backed what they were saying. I recall that the NDC communicators were out there insisting that in spite of the NPP's official release on this matter, Akufo-Addo's personal view, reaction was also necessary. Consistently, the NPP rebutted by saying that there was no need for Akufo-Addo to do a personal intervention. In any case, what the party has said represented his view as well, if you recall. So let's get the thread clearly. Now, subsequently, a lot went on and on. Akomia, the rest all came with tidbits to put in context as to when Akufo-Addo was brought into the picture relative to the relocation of the GITMO 2. And it's been stated clearly, and even the U.S. Embassy, I don't think the ambassador played any mischief, in my candid opinion. And unfortunately for me too, I wasn't there to listen to the kind of question that was asked and the sequence of it. So sometimes some of these things can play out in a different way. But the truth of the matter, which has been consistent in the last few months, was that Akufo-Addo's point is, I was informed on January 5th, 2016. If the U.S. Embassy is listening, they can rebut this relative to the timelines. The GITMO 2 arrived in Ghana January 6th, 2016. 24 hours. Now, you realize that, you see, initially, certain particulars were not given by the NPP in the official sense. This statement by Nana Akufo-Addo's office has moved one step forward, mentioning names. And telling us what happened.
It mentions the Deputy Chief of Mission, chargé d'affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, then acting as Chief of Mission, Melinda Tadler-Stone, that she's the one who called on Nana Addo at his Nima residence to inform him, with the consent of the Minister for Foreign Affairs, about the impending arrival into the country of the 2 Guantanamo Bay detainees, and that this happened on January 5, 2016.
Fact. And few details that were unknown earlier are here. Indeed, the lady being mentioned here requested on January 5th, and you see, I can understand why Akufo-Addo did not make disclosures of that extent early. As a former chief diplomat of this country, a consummate politician, it's not everything you put out for good reasons, particularly when the request for the first meeting on January 5th was put in the context of strict confidentiality. The lady asked for a one-to-one meeting. Insisted even Akufo-Addo's own staff should not be present. And she went alone, Akufo-Addo alone, and she disclosed the agreement to relocate the GITMO to Ghana to him, and asked for his cooperation in terms of understanding and all those things. Meaning an agreement had been reached between two sovereign countries through their legitimate governments, who are the principal actors in this matter. Akufo-Addo indicated to the lady that this was not something he personally, on his own at that moment, could give any guaranteed answer.
Okay.
And that he would wish to consult before getting back to her. Akufo-Addo did consult some senior party officials that day, whose reaction was overwhelmingly negative. So he called back
Same day,
and asked for a meeting the following day, January 6th.
which was the day they arrived.
The lady went to the meeting, but this time accompanied by the political officer of the embassy. I'm told one Mr. Carson. And at that material moment, Akufo-Addo told them the position of the party, in terms of the preliminary discussions he had had.
Okay.
No, please, it's very important.
Yeah, but try and finish up quick. It's supposed to be a preliminary issue.
Maybe it should have been a substantive issue.
Okay.
Considering what is going on here. My brother has it, Mr. Lowe has even spoken.
Yeah, he's coming to speak, and then when he's done, we'll hear from Dr. Kwesi Enin, Director of Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. He's on the phone. Thank you very much, Doc, for your patience once again on this show.
So Akufo-Addo indicated to then acting chief of mission, head of mission, that the party, in terms of preliminary discussions, were not going to be able to do what she was requesting.
Okay.
But whatever it is, the formal meeting will be held by a party organ, and that they will communicate that to her. This was done on the 13th. The NPP issued an official statement. Before the statement was made public, he called the lady and said, this is the position official.
Okay.
We are not in support because of so reasons. That's it. So these are the facts.
Okay.
And I'm sure the US embassy, they monitor these things. You see, I'm not sure the embassy feels comfortable engaging in this exercise. This is a localized propaganda mischief being played out in Ghanaian political contest.
Okay.
But for the fact that this thing was subjected to propagandist mischief, is no issue
At all.
Because the truth of the matter is this: even where the foreign minister and interior minister tell you that they themselves had limited knowledge in some areas, of course, specific areas, how much more opposition leader? Even parliament or its leadership were left out. And that this whole thing, we are told, was based on executive decision or order.
Right. Okay.
Why are people seeking to bring in this thing of shared responsibility or shared culpability?
Okay.
It's the government. It's his government's right. They have gone into an exercise. We think, some of us think there were legal or constitutional lapses. They have debated it. Let responsibility, or if there is culpability, remain exactly where it ought to be.
Okay.
The executive.
Thank you, Kweku. Thank you, Kweku.
And not a shared responsibility.
Right. Thank you, Kweku. Now, George, what do you make of the latest twist to the issue and the NPP statement issued and signed by Eugene Ahin, Press Secretary?
Well, thank you very much, Samson. And let me just say good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. Samson, I think that once again we are belaboring this point, and I agree, and I think that that's a consensus around this table, that we are belaboring this point. Why? It's very basic. This latest twist, the question is, was Akufo-Addo consulted or not? Coming from all the things that we have said, landing from where my brother Kweku landed from, I think there was a consultation.
Wow.
Because, you see, yes, in contest, because he was required to have given an answer, which he deferred to the next day.
But there was already an agreement.
There was already, and I don't think that the consultation was for him to either stall the process or not. He didn't have the power.
Fantastic.
You and I don't have the power.
Fantastic.
So do
But
I
you
hear
see-
you? Do I hear you say
Fantastic.
that his position upon being consulted is in tandem with the MPP's position, and therefore the NDC will not take this to the campaign and say he was playing?
he might not.
I will not tell you about what is being taken to the campaign. All I'm saying, and look, we are in a political season. There are thousands of commentators out there. Everybody and the kind of information they have.
Yeah.
As from a lawyer's perspective, you don't expect me to
you do.
put out information as other people will put out. So I think that sometimes we get
A lot of
worried.
your members are saying
I think that
Akufo-Addo
a lot.
exposed,
Wait,
Akufo-Addo
yes, I'm saying
exposed.
that we worry too much
Okay.
about these
Okay.
things. Social media is social media. It's a social space where everybody contributes.
Right.
So I don't see why we should jump over ourselves when certain things have been said. Having said that, I think that the NDC as a party, one, has not issued an official statement saying the things that you said commentators are saying.
Oh, but some are deputy ministers.
Wait a
ministers.
minute. You see, Kweku, we are talking party to party here. Just as we're talking state to state.
But let's not forget the earlier comments by
I'll get
the
there.
party and its top hierarchy
You see,
when it was said that
Uh-huh.
Nanado had been consulted.
You see, I am saying that this is confirmation that indeed Nanado had been approached and told about what was going to happen. For me, this is where we should even be happy and be jumping over ourselves. Good governance at play.
No, but the Ghanaian
Because-
authorities.
please,
I'm sorry.
Please,
Sorry,
can I?
sorry.
Good
I'm sorry.
governance at play. To the extent that they go into consultation and our minister and of course on behalf of the president says that it's important to go and brief the opposition leader that this is coming.
Why didn't the minister do that herself?
No, because maybe they thought that the best person to give all the information. And don't forget that you yourself have just said that the minister at a point did not have all the information. This is a representative of America, so she may have more information than the minister. You never know. It's a security matter.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
So for me, I think that we should rather applaud the situation where we are beginning to realize that in taking decisions that affect all of us, we should consult major stakeholders, even when they are opposition leaders. You understand? So for me, that is
the
number
NPP
one.
takes exception to the use of consultation.
That is- but
would you make a difference between consultation and information?
But you see, consultation, whose word is it? When you read the ambassador's word itself, he didn't say that we've consulted Addo.
He said we consulted,
about so
That is
informed
foreign ministry.
other stakeholders,
Good.
and we talked to Nana.
Good.
Good job.
So,
but
right,
there are people
they
who are
cannot,
not seeing
they
what he's
cannot
saying.
just come and drive to Nanado's resident and say you want to tell him something. We have
Fantastic.
agreed with Ghana.
Okay.
So they go to the Ghana government. The Ghana government said we don't have any problem. No,
right.
go talk to the opposition leader.
Right.
We respect his position as opposition leader. And for me, that's what I'm saying. It's good governance. It's good for transparency.
It would have been
Right.
better if Ghanaian authorities did.
Fine,
not
fine. But I'm saying
Okay.
that the approach is totally
Samson,
different.
to bring the
from
matter home.
Wait, just wait.
But you've done well.
You want to talk
Yes.
honestly.
So,
I'm coming.
so in reality, I think that we should be applauding rather than finding faults where
Okay,
faults are.
Kwame wants to make a point. Let me
Yes,
hear him
yes,
first, and then in a minute,
relation to what I'm
and then I
saying.
hear
But let me
Ebet in a
finish
minute,
that.
and then we go to
I was building my point.
Dr. Kwesi Enin. Okay, you take, if you are building a point, then quickly come in and
Yes,
then you
maybe
finish
you
his
want
point.
to
No,
Yes.
I just want to say that in reference to consultation, this fact that Senior Kweku Bakun has just now put in the public domain about 3 times of in and out and
right.
dinner with the American embassy brings the issue of consultation closer.
Yeah.
No,
That
before agreement.
you go
Not before agreement.
you,
After
you
agreement.
go ahead and,
No, but he's
and
right
do
about that.
and do your
because they come to
this-
speak to you and you say, I'll give you an answer, I'll give you an official position, and then you consult
see-
your other
you see-
members,
yeah, but
and then you give
Emphasize
an
the
official
point
position
that
to them.
is
That is
after the
consultation.
agreement.
Something.
That's why I said
Yeah.
consultation
But you see, something.
after the agreement has been
You
reached.
see-
Okay,
you
wait,
see,
I said you
information-
continue the
Okay,
point.
all right.
Egbert had a point to
Something.
make. Yes.
Fortunately, your good self, himself, and myself are learned friends. In agreements, we have something we call condition precedent, and we also have the opposite, which is condition subsequent. If you want to situate the conduct of the U.S. embassy in going to Nana Akufo-Addo,
You don't want to use consultation.
yeah, will you say that it was a condition precedent or a condition subsequent. This is a clear case of condition subsequent.
Of course.
When they were talking to Nana Akufo-Addo,
Right.
the GITMO 2 were either in the jurisdiction or were about entering Ghana's territorial airspace.
They appeared on the 6th.
Thank you for that.
So that you see, I'm coming. It's just like a man goes out with a girl, as we all have done before. There's a pregnancy, and you know that there's trouble. When you go to the girl's parents' house to go and inform them that this is what has happened and that you clearly have broken the law, are you there to consult with them or to inform them that what we all don't want to happen has happened?
Okay, you are obviously
That is what happened. It does. Condition subsequent things that you say
what Egbert has said.
Yeah.
And clearly, as the two of you who is senior at the bar, he is right. Clearly, was that condition precedent or subsequent? It was condition subsequent.
You
so
see,
it was of no
Samson,
use, right?
Samson, no. Samson, you see, when you put it in legalese, you don't bring the matter home properly. I am saying that first and foremost, there were two options: should we inform Nana Addo
or not?
Or not? We chose one, and I said that must be applauded.
Great for good governance.
Yes, for good governance. Two, we gave him the opportunity to make his input. He deferred it. He made his
input that was inconsequential.
Yes, sure. Yes, and you see, Egbert himself made a point that our constitution says that in making appointment, president write to the Council of State. Or in consultation with the Council of State. What if the Council of State say I don't like Kutubaku? Did he stop the president? Did he stop the president from appointing whoever was going to appoint? Because the constitution itself says that the president is not bound by the Council's opinion. So we are in this kind of situation. I am saying
on consultation, and you know that this matter is before the Supreme Court now. That is on consultation and advice. Whether the advice is binding or not. And the position of many experts is that the advice is binding.
Yeah. Now let's.
It's consultation that's not binding.
So I am saying that. In this same vein, all of us as Ghanaians got to know when they were about to be emplaned here. And it's open, the statement was issued.
Right.
But I'm saying that they singled out Akufo-Addo because of the possible influence he has on his party.
Right.
And so, for me, in consulting Akufo-Addo,
MPP they did not consult MPP.
Okay. Contest.
And then I'm saying that beyond that,
he's being mischievous. You see the word consult.
Beyond that, the consultation was not to ask them, to say yes or no. They were given information to know that this was about to happen. Which all Ghanaians were given at the same vein. They just singled out some people because and I think that it is proper for security reasons.
This man
and
not worried about the fact that Parliament was not informed.
Egbert, please let's yes.
When we say Parliament was not
I'm going to question for the
Do you know whether the leadership of Parliament are consulted or not? Because they haven't come
out. Didn't say that.
Yes, he didn't say that because that question may not have come up. Because I know that General Smith, for instance, paid a couple of courtesy calls on speaker. You don't know what they discussed.
But is Speaker a member of Parliament?
Leader, he is the leader of Parliament per se. I mean,
in terms of
in terms of everything.
Yes, but
so please.
But the Speaker would then have communicated.
Did he do that?
You see, I am saying that it depends on, like he yourself said, when they met Nana Addo, there was an understanding.
It's a strict confidentiality.
So please. Nothing untoward has happened in this case. The worry I can sense from Kweku and maybe you is that maybe propaganda has taken it to a certain level. But you can't stop that.
Which you are benefiting from.
No, you can't stop that.
He's been fair.
Yeah, you can't stop that. So we are all.
He's been fair.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now let's hear from the experts. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwesieni, for joining us. Hello, Dr. Kwesieni. He's been on the phone lines for a while. Wow. Hello, Dr. Kwesieni.
Hello.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us, Doc. Right. What would you say by way of being the one who will bring a sort of a neutral position in concluding this matter going forward?
Well, for me, I think there are two things here. One is building trust in our politics so that critical information can be shared among senior stakeholders who can, at any one point in time, come into government and inherit agreements that have been made by a previous government. I think that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
The second is also to disaggregate amongst ourselves what levels and types of information can and must be shared across board. You see, because levels, every information has certain levels of confidentiality.
Okay.
So we need to ask ourselves, as competing political entities, what can be shared and what must not be shared. But there must be a baseline in which every single political leader is given some information, not so much as to whether they agree or not agree, but because of the possibility that they can take over power at a point in time and continue to deal with the unintended consequences of the previous agreement by the previous regime. So that must be done. And it can only be done if we have the institutional processes and mechanisms and the trust within the political system that says, if I share information with you, that information will not be misused within a political context. So there's a certain shared responsibility here. How we go about that, I think it needs a conversation and it needs the trust and it will be which the conversation can take place.
Would you like the political parties to communicate this issue going into the campaigns? Because when they mount the platforms, sometimes you wonder how exactly they process the information that they put out. Obvious untruths are told. How should they deal with this matter such that it doesn't become yet another football between the political football between the two of them, and so that the matter will end completely from going forward?
Well, the manner in which this conversation is placed within the broader political campaign context is crucial because of the state of fear in which we all are right now, the possibility or probability that by exploiting this particular incident, it even creates more insecurity. Now you will remember that when this case broke, there were so many interpretations from all of us as to possible unintended impact or consequences that may arise from the arrival of these individuals in Ghana. And I'm not saying there's a direct correlation, but since January, I think what has been happening around West Africa and with our neighbors is such that we ourselves need to be cautious. Now, if gaining political power is about seeking to use the lever or the instrument of power to improve people's lives, then I think going into the campaign, we also need to ask ourselves, how do we win that power in a manner that by the time we are seized to power, the country is still stable and in a governable state for us to exercise that power and to provide public services and public goods. So it's all about the shared principles and the shared values that drive us into politics, and to use politics as a vehicle to deliver improvement into people's lives. So that it's contingent on all political parties to have an internal conversation, and probably at an IPAC meeting also, to say to what extent can we use this, and can we agree amongst ourselves that maybe in talking about the issues, we are tempered in what we say and how we say. I don't think that should be too difficult for them to agree, and for members of political parties also to be cautious when they go out there to make statements.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now let's zoom in into the other aspect, or maybe my production is informing me. Kweku has stated that he hadn't finished, and that it may be important to give him just a minute to wrap up on the point that he wanted to make.
Let's move on.
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Enin, the general insecurity in the country, and I'm saying insecurity about the terror threats. We were earlier on issued a statement from the state saying that we ought to be cautious because we had become a target of sort, and that there was potential for us to be attacked by jihadists or whoever they are. And then we heard of a prophecy from TB Joshua. Some of you have described that as what you called it as some sort of imagination. And then we are told that national security has also sought to inform at the district levels, people who are in charge, to sensitize the people because of some information that has come from those who have been arrested elsewhere and who have disclosed that Ghana is supposed to be their next target. What do you say about how we are managing the information, the flood of information, and preparedness?
Well, let me go back to the sequence this week of the information that came into the public domain and the earlier so-called prophecy that came. And here I want to play the devil's advocate for just 1 split second, because it's important that we look at all the sides to this particular thing that has happened this week. We need to ask ourselves, when the National Security Council period first get the hint that we were now a credible, legitimate target. Ghana has been target on Al-Qaeda list since 1995. Okay?
Since 1995?
Yes, since 1995.
Why? What's our problem? What's our crime?
You don't need to be a criminal, or you don't need to be a criminal state. But Ghana has protected itself over the last 40 or so years as one of the most credible, true contributing countries in this world. And in almost all the cases where we've placed our peace defense, those peace defense contributed tangentially to disrupting networks that seek to undermine state. So although we haven't directly linked our peacekeeping activities to the potential that may happen or the potential that may arise in terms of terrorist targeting us, it is now becoming clear that because of what we do internationally and the reputation that we get, even an attack that is not necessarily successful will be perceived in terms of propaganda to have been very useful.
Okay, now help us here. Help us here on this point, Dr. Enin, because many people are not sure what exactly it is. What is it that we do internationally that will make us attractive to jihadists?
Peacekeeping. If you look, I think we are the 8th major contributing country in this world.
Okay.
Especially peace enforcement.
Yeah, Dr. Enin, do this for me. If you can reposition yourself a bit. The line has not been.
Let me just be moving around.
Great. It's okay now. It's fantastic now. It's fabulous. Can we continue from this point?
Great. Yeah. I mean, we are just about the 8th or the 9th most important peacekeeping or troop contributing countries.
Okay.
And we've contributed troops to some of the most dangerous places, Mali, Lebanon,
especially Mali,
and lots of other countries. When you peacekeepers, into the country, you try to rebuild that country's infrastructure and institutions. And in strengthening the state, you undermine the capacity of those who want to destroy that state. And that all, most peacekeeping analysts or academics didn't see the linkage, or didn't see the linkage was mostly. But there's an increasing literature that demonstrates that when you are a major peacekeeping country, the tendency for you to be attacked also increases. So, Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, Rwanda. Okay, so talking about being a target since 1995, prior to the Nairobi and Dar es Salaam bombing, the Ghana or the National Security Network had disrupted a major plan to attack this country even before Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. And this is where we need to improve our immigration services and their ability to analyze the data. How that network was disrupted was that immigration found out that quite a number of people were coming into this country with very funny travel itineraries. So the person is going to Nigeria, but flies from Karachi to Dubai to London to Accra before going to Lagos. And after having followed such funny travel itineraries, started to pick up those who were staying over in Ghana and then started to track them. And they found out that these people were visiting certain critical infrastructure. Some were arrested, most of them managed to escape. So what we are experiencing this week is nothing new.
Okay.
It's just that it has moved.
Okay, so you were continuing with the question
So let me
that you
say
were
the
posing.
advocate first.
Right, but you will
When
say
did the government of Ghana and this national security apparatus first get a hint that this was indeed or and when did the paperwork start to circulate? Is it possible at all that somebody who goes to the interest might have said, sent to the paper that says, look, we received this entirely prayer. And then the prayer and the prophecy comes. And in the same paper, interestingly, it's also to coincide both with the prophecy and then with the UK claiming that the prophecy. We shouldn't discount it. The prophecy may be important, but we cannot overlook the fact also that somebody within the security apparatus frightens a state to prevent says, look, I've got a powerful reverend minister, man of God. Let's share this with you. That is not easy. And then the same document. I think it needs further exploration. But it raises questions also about the levels of communication and the types of critical information that can be sent out and at what level. Because there are critical lessons that we need to learn from.
okay, I want to finish with you so you take leave of us, then we will continue here in the studio.
Okay, sure.
But can we quickly go forward to look at our approach to all of the alerts that is coming in? For example, there is a command to the immigration to profile every individual that is entering the country. That is good, isn't it? At our airports, though, it does appear that it is a bit chaotic. The travelers are not happy about what is happening at Kotoka, for example. Yesterday, for example, I'm told there was a queue from the airport or through to about, what's the name? Holiday Inn Hotel. And it's some way.
So, profiling can be useful, but what are you profiling? Who are you profiling? Are you profiling people with long beards? How many millimeters? People with top belly? People who are extremely well dressed? People in a kaftan? You see, we shouldn't reinvent it. When I headed the African Union's counter-terrorism strategy, one of the things we did was to design a threat assessment template that Ghana has, because I shared this with every single national focal point on this continent, and also a code of conduct that every single member state adheres to. Finally, every single member state was given what we then term the legal framework within which profiling, for example, as one among a series of potential DT measures could be done. Okay, so we shouldn't reinvent the wheel. Now, when you want to profile, and I mean, Delta has been profiling for a long time. Other people have okay, so we shouldn't be very different. What we need to do, and this is what I think government has failed to do all this while. When you tell us that there's a credible threat and that people should be vigilant, what should they be vigilant about? What are the things that we should be looking out for? And were we to find those things, is it just any police station that we should report to? And how is that communicated and what is their response? So I think just like as we've done with Operation in terms of the fight against narcotics, I think it's important for an aggressive information.
Okay.
But also inviting the citizenry not just to report anything at all. Because false reports will also be a response that basically gets with time, money, and resources.
Thank
so
you.
I think there's an opinion there that government has to scale very quickly in terms of providing some information as to what truly people must look out for, what is the extraordinary, what is the real clear, and how do people manage.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwesi. Thank you very much once again for your time and your insight. Unfortunately, the lines have not been the best, so we end that conversation here. We take a break, and then when we return, my guests in the studio will do the analysis of the issues that have come up as far as the terror alerts are concerned. Well, we must be really concerned because we are told, according to the Daily Heritage, that 600 foreigners have cancelled flights to Ghana. Obviously not good for our country. We'll be right back after this break.